Hello, everybody. I mean, it's just you currently just see Jessie,
Hey
and not
everyone!
hello.
I miss getting to see your face, Ash, but I am very happy that I can at least hear you, so I will take it. It's
We
something.
we should secretly just FaceTime on the side, just so you can
Just so that I
see
can
me.
look at you. Yeah. I want to be able, it's nice when I can see your reactions to things, especially then if I know that like what I said was like a little funny or if you're listening, I can at least see that like you were there, but that's okay.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I'll make sure my all my reactions are greatly exaggerated. Like my laughs will be just like the belly laughs you hear on like I don't know, like reality TV shows.
That would be so nice. If you could get like some closed captioning, like Ash laughs, rolls eyes, like whatever it is, like if you could just like keep us informed, that'd be awesome. I'm also just now getting over to look at the YouTube stream, so I'm seeing what we look like, and it is a bit comical because I'm like over here in my bright red shirt and you are like this big around as your little profile photo is. So get used to looking at me, guys, because it's gonna be a long one.
Yeah, at least you can hear us.
Yeah, take it for what it is. But last one of the year, can you believe it?
Gosh, how was it? So Jesse went to Phoenix, and yet again, Jesse, we asked you how the vibes were. When did you get in? What were you doing? Like, what's some behind the scenes you can tell us about?
The vibes were high. um, as Phoenix weekend tends to be, there's a lot of energy, a lot of people. Um, it's just like all around. I love Phoenix weekend because everywhere you go, the way that track is laid out is fabulous. It's been recently renovated in the past handful of years, so the fan experience there is just phenomenal. But I say that to say it's right next to the garage, like fan zone, fan experience. You can literally look over a gate and look at the race cars and the teams working on the cars. So as far as just like energy and atmosphere goes, it all kind of is in one space, like fan excitement and team. I don't want to say stress, but just end of the year emotion, tension, adrenaline, all of that just kind of culminates in one spot. So it's a very exciting weekend. It's an exhausting weekend, but Phoenix is a lot of fun as far as kind of getting that whole entire well-rounded experience. Um, as far as the weekend goes, obviously it's a long one. We got ARCA on Friday morning. Yeah, Friday morning, trucks Friday night. It's gonna be Saturday, Cup Sunday. It's a very long weekend, but it's an exciting one. Um, I was just happy to be there again. I don't even know what else to say. The more I talk, the more I want to get into the details of it. So overall, good weekend. Definitely took a nice long nap when I got back on Monday evening.
Yeah, I'm sure the time changes might not be affecting you, still be affecting you.
Yeah, here and there. It's always difficult when you go over there because they're a couple hours behind. So I'm trying to math, not my strong suit, but
No, wait,
it's
Arizona
tough
doesn't
when
change
it.
their clocks. They're only 2 hours behind now.
Right, they're only 2 hours behind us, so it's really not too bad. It just gets like it's the later in the evening, whatever. It's not too bad. Nothing I really could complain about. So, how was your weekend? Where did you watch the races other than on the live stream with your streamers chat?
Yeah, so usually, yeah, I do the watch alongs here on the Twitch chat. Oh, sorry, not on the NASCAR, my channel. And no, that was
Right.
good. I think a lot of people came in. Didn't watch trucks live, but saw the replays and stuff. Got to watch Xfinity. A lot of tears were shed. We'll get through that, and then watch Cup, which I know everyone's got opinions of one thing or another. So we'll get to that shortly. But it was good vibes. And gosh, how do people say this? I think even though quote unquote it's the end of the season, I know one, a lot of the teams are not ending their season. Like this is not over for them. They might have a little holiday break, but I know a lot of them are back preparing for 2025 because right, straight weeks, only one weekend off, just back to back to back racing, and whatnot, and then going to Mexico next year, so preparing for that. And the fans always have something to talk about, and I think our season is just so long that the breaks in between, it doesn't feel like it's an in between, right? We might have the holidays, but then like stuff starts revamping in January. People are pushing out their content of like 2025 stuff, and then all of a sudden we have the clash. So it's gonna be short and crazy.
It always is. You're so right about that. I mean, it's the joke, right? Enjoy the off season. What off season? Ha! You know, like it's just the like, but it's so true. What off season? You blink. The off season. The tough thing about the NASCAR off season is that the time off is the holidays for you, which is wonderful, right? Like that's a weird thing to say. That's tough, but you know, like you always people say like you get to the end of the holidays and you're exhausted. You need a nap from all of the family time and food and celebrating, and some people travel and whatever. So it's just funny that our time off to rest is an incredibly busy time of year. But it's fun. I love it. And really though, it's worth noting because to your point, we go back to back to back for the majority of the year, the longest season in all of professional sports. So you can't underestimate how much time, attention, work goes into planning that entire season. So yeah, I mean, of course they don't start now. That has already started before now, but it's crunch time in regards to actually getting the year off the ground. So to your point, Ash, very little off season, which from a race fan side of things, I don't hate. That means teams and people and sponsors and social content, all that stuff will start pumping out sooner than later. So we don't have to go too long without feeling, like there's something going on in the NASCAR world.
I do have to call out, someone in my community because there was a post made by a team that says, like, "Thanks to all the fans," and for some reason, they took that as, like, this team is shutting down. And I had to
Oh
reiterate
no.
that that is just, like, a typical post that people make, like, showing him that other teams had these posts of, like, "Thank you, fans, like, it's been a great year. Thank you, thank you, thank you." It wasn't
Uh
like a
huh.
goodbye. It was just, like, saying thank you for
It was
2024.
like thanks
So
BRB, not like thanks forever. Yeah.
correct. I think the post would be a lot less open for interpretation if that was the case. Yeah, NASCAR fan. I wonder who that crazy person was. I not to call anyone out, but I wonder who that was.
Okay, you know what I'm learning from that though? Maybe we all are like having a little bit of anxiety around NASCAR right now and like feeling like we're gonna lose something, maybe because I will say, and I'll speak to that quickly, before we really get into the logistics of everything, with talking about the emotion, the adrenaline, the energy, this weekend, saying a couple goodbyes, saying goodbye to Martin Truex Jr. I mean, that's the end of an incredible career. Now, we will see MTJ back in the car as soon as February. So, let's not get ahead of ourselves there. But at the end of the day, like it is the end of an era, right? For him to be in the series full time and be such a staple as somebody that we look at as a key player in NASCAR is really pulled at a lot of heartstrings. There were a lot of fans there this weekend that traveled a long way to come watch Martin drive his last full-time race. So a lot
Mhm.
of emotion surrounding that. There were, I'm sure if you heard plenty of interviews, he keeps joking, he's excited to go hold a fishing pole and not have to really worry about all of this again. But sorry, I'm reading the YouTube chat. They got distracting to me. I love when people give their opinions sometimes. Um, but I know he's gonna miss it, right? Like the emotion was there. Martin's not exactly an emotional person or doesn't show it a lot, but like for what he does show, you can tell that it was there. But and then on top of that, Stuart Haas. That was really what I was getting at when you mentioned the team side of things. SHR running their last race. I talked to Chase Briscoe before the Cup Series race on Sunday, and he said, "This is it. Like we've turned in our laptops, like we've turned in our everything. Like no, we don't go back to the shop on Monday. Like this is it." Um, which is just wild to think about. So there was at the end of the race, all of the SHR teams, members, even just friends, everybody had all gathered in the garage. They were all drinking beer, just kind of celebrating the end of another era, really. Saying their final goodbyes. And then you probably may have seen on social, Tony got up in front of everybody and spoke to everyone and gave his kind of final goodbye as well. So a lot of emotion around this weekend. It was really an honor to be there, obviously, to witness so much of this, but at the same time, where this whole thing started, I can kind of see where some of these fans might be feeling a little protective, of having to say goodbye to so many things that they love this weekend, and now when they see another thank you fans, they're like, "Wait, no, don't take another thing away from me." So, um, I understand that, but don't worry, that's not happening with whatever team it was that you were mentioning.
Um, I saw that Martin Truex Jr. get that standing ovation during the drivers' meeting, and knowing and, like, not knowing him personally, I should say, like, hearing about his personality, like, keeps to himself, very cool dude, very chill, but, like, hearing that, I just think it's funny that he was just like, "Guys, shucks, like, stop it, please sit down."
Did you see him, like, kinda,
Well-deserved
like,
standing
start to
ovation.
stand up? He was like, "Do I stand?" And then he, like, sat down, and then you could tell it was like, "Okay, sit down." Like, you could tell he was like, "Please," like, but and it's just funny because like, the joke and I think he's mentioned it, is that he's had a lot of send-offs, he's had a lot of goodbyes this year, every racetrack, and understandably so, wants to give them their rightful, respect and say goodbye and thank you for everything that he's brought to this sport over the past number of years. So it is just funny that he does feel like he said a lot of these, but you could tell the ones this weekend, for as awkward of a guy he is in those moments, you could tell that they still meant something to him.
Yeah, and, SHR did a great like, a lot of social media posts, and I think you've touched on that, so yeah, I see a lot of the teams have been trying to work with SHR and the folks that they've had to let go, to see if they can get jobs within their teams. I know I think NASCAR hired for branding, I believe. So it's good that we're taking care of each other as a community, and I appreciate that. And it's kind of weird that I feel like there's so much that happens, and all of a sudden we end for a little bit, like we get nothing else, and we have no more racing content. I know for the teams the work keeps going, but for the fans, we're kind of just like, tell us more.
Yeah. No, for sure. Uh, yeah, it was an interesting weekend all around. A lot of emotion talking to Briscoe. It's a tough one though, as far as that goes, because they've had all season long to kind of process that a little. I don't say all season, but this latter half of the year to kind of process what's happening. So you could tell for each of them, it was all kind of different, hitting at different stages. Some of these guys weren't quite as emotional as others, but Briscoe definitely had it in him.
Yeah, it was interesting to watch. I think this was Friday. It was the state of the sport given by both Steves. Um, I love that they're both named Steve. I don't know if I should say like Steve squared or like times two. His sport is interesting. I wish they gave a little bit more numbers or talked a little bit about more projects in the sense of I felt like it was very broad. And you and I know what NASCAR does behind the scenes and like for a lot of the communities, for the local communities of racetracks they go to. So I wish there was more emphasis on that in some way, but they talked about, the ratings, the seasons. I think you mentioned Xfinity, whether Steve meant to or not. Steve Phelps mentioned that Xfinity is coming back to sponsor the Xfinity series as a title sponsor, which was just funny. He was like, "Oh, was I supposed to say that? Oh well, now everyone knows." So I do wish, again, I do wish they addressed more stuff, as in things they're working on. I mean, again, like right, the Miami Zoo was there for Miami Homestead race, which was great in the kids zone. Like connecting with local stuff, whether it's zoos, hospitality, events. I think that's cool to emphasize on. I don't know if that's something that like NASCAR has like an end of the year report. Maybe I'm thinking too corporate America. Maybe I'm just going too far corporate in my experience because I got to go to my boss and give numbers right at the end of the year. I got to be like 80% of employees loved our employee events. We increased engagement by 2%, blah, 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 blah. And like that's the stuff I want to hear about, but that might be too in the weeds for like the broader general scope of things.
Yeah, no, the thing is, like, I get where you're coming from, and I appreciate where you're coming from because I do feel like it comes from a mindset of growth, right? So whether you're looking at things from like a numbers, like a corporate standpoint, or you look at things from more of a creative standpoint or an entertainment standpoint, or whatever it is, like you're coming from a mindset of growth. So get those numbers, girl. You do you. It's for the
Just gonna
betterment,
start
right?
emailing everyone and just be like, "Hey, just wondering. I'm not gonna publish them anywhere. I just want to know because I'm nosy. Thank
And you're
you."
like, hey, it's me. Y'all have like an Excel sheet or something you can invite me to by chance?
I know. Zach saying, "Good morning, Ash. Love how active you are in the chat. Keep up the good content. I appreciate that. It helps that I'm not on camera because I can just like type away while listening to Jess. Like I'm on the phone. So shout out to Jess for carrying the stream because my camera's broken on the last day of the show. But yeah, love being in the chat. Appreciate you guys with your opinions. Obviously, respectfully. If your name is Will, you can bugger
I was
off.
just about to say,
Otherwise,
speaking of last day of the show and chat, I why not? I get distracted while reading the chat. That's the problem right now, is that since I can't look at Ash while I'm talking, I'm like half talking and then half reading the chat. So that's why part of this is rambling. But I just laugh. Yeah, Will has been a little critical, but then does have a question. Yes, I am related to Dr. Jerry Punch. So That is my father. Thank you for asking, and thank you for your wonderful opinions over the past couple comments.
Yeah. I know we're on the NASCAR show, we can say a lot of things, but there's a lot of things we still can't say, and it's the last show. So, all gloves are off. I guess partially off because there's still stuff we can't say. So, should we talk about?
No, I just want people to be kind. Yeah, we should talk about the weekend. Let's talk about where you want to start. You want to start with trucks? Friday?
Yeah, I know some people. I do want to start with trucks. I was gonna say some people have opinions, and I was like, that's way too broad of a sentence. Actually, I was gonna say I saw a lot of comments about the time of Jessica win because a lot of people were talking about Christian Eckes and et cetera, et cetera. And I was like, no, Ty won. Ty Majeski won fair and square. He did a great job.
He did. I mean,
He also had
I
a
don't
nice little season,
what
and we can
I don't
debate
know
this
what you
back
want
and
to
forth.
argue.
But
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know what you want to argue. Jess, have you been on the internet?
Yes and no. I'll be honest. Like we talked about it. Phoenix is exhausting. Like getting through Phoenix weekend has been like it's a lot. So then I feel like I got home and kind of was like, you know what? I'm gonna turn my phone off for a bit as far as reading people's opinions because I don't need that right now. I need to rest. So I have seen a little bit of it, but if there is like, what inform me? I say that to say, inform me. What are people's strong opinions on why Ty Majeski does not deserve to be our NASCAR
I mean, the
Truck
same stuff
Series
I'm sure
champion?
people will bring up about the Cup Series and Joey Logano, right? So they think they're saying that Christian Eckes had the better truck and the better season, but like Ty Majeski is no one to sneer at, right? He's got 4 consecutive championships in the ARCA Midwest Tour. So I mean, like, returned to win the 2021 championship. He had a pretty good NASCAR season, get himself all the way to the final four. I mean, multiple top fives, a lot of wins, including IRP, Richmond, and now Phoenix, also top second place in Homestead, second place in Martinsville, second place in Atlanta. So it's interesting to see how people go back and forth. And I was like, I think we can't just discount someone just because we either dislike them or think one or the other. You're looking at stats wise, Ty had a great year, and I would say decently consistent. Some stuff, some Ty Majeski fans might remember Kansas or might remember Bristol, but overall, top tens, top fives, and it clinched it at Phoenix. You just did what you had to do.
I mean, yeah, exactly. Like at the end of the day, you don't stumble into a championship. Like consistency, managing mistakes. There's a lot of things that go into even getting yourself to the championship for. We talk about it quite literally every week on this stream. So there needs to be some credit given there. Of course, it's another thing we talk about weekly on this stream. Do people like the playoff format? That's really not the question. It is what it is right now. Like the playoff format is what it is. And by this playoff format, Ty Majeski did whatever it was he needed to do to win the championship. This playoff format doesn't say the champion is the driver with the most wins this year. That's not what it says. That's just not it. It's a different format. The driver with the most wins this year has to win at the right times. That's great. He has the most wins, but when did he do it? How did he do it? Did he do it consistently? Did he manage mistakes in between those wins? There's a lot that goes into it. And you might say, yes, he did all of those things and he's still not the champion. Well, that's the format we're working with right now, people. So it is what it is. Like, and I think I lay all that out because and we'll get to it, but Joey Logano made a lot of very interesting points about this playoff format in his post race press conference there in the media center, and I thought it was really interesting.
Well, he
Um,
wasn't gonna say anything else. Not to,
no, of
like,
course not.
play not
But
that the devil needs an advocate or a lawyer, but Joey's not gonna sit there with a championship trophy and be like, "Yeah, they need to change that." Like,
oh, of
he's not
course
gonna go
not.
do that.
But like what I think was interesting was that he said, "Yeah, look, we might not have run well the past 2 weeks, but that's because we didn't give a crap the past 2 weeks. Like we looked at this playoff format for what it was and said, now people are going to be like, "Well, he basically like lucked his way in with the Bowman thing." Sure, like you can argue so many things. But like if you're looking at that, last round there, like to his point, he was like we took what they gave us and we played the game of what we needed to do with what they gave us, you know? And I just think like that's the kind of course, to your point, Ash, what else is he going to say? But at the end of the day, that's the kind of mentality that like you're going to have to play this game. These are the rules. This is the game. So figure out how to play it, you know?
Yeah, and I don't think people are upset. How do I say this? How do I make everyone not mad at me? Okay, people are upset at a lot of different things. One of them, I think, is, hey, we have opinions about this format. No one's listening to us or acknowledging what we have said, right? It's just more like, during the state of the sport address, both Steves said this is the best racing we've ever had 9 times out of the 19 times the word racing was mentioned. And I was like, "I'm glad you guys think that, Steve. Was this, like, in taking it to like, did you interview fans?" Like, I'm not sure, like, where we're getting this, like, it's the best racing it's ever been, and do we agree, disagree? I think fans want to be heard, which is why I appreciate our show, because people like, I know you and I, we can move up comments only as far as we can up the chain, but I'm hoping people come in here, have a nice discussion, and be like, "Yeah, like, we care about the sport," most of us, except if your name Will, on YouTube chat, and we wanna see it be better, and, like, we're gonna voice our opinions respectfully, keyword there, chat, and hopefully something comes of it. If you fill out the fan council surveys, if you talk to people at the track, you're hoping that you're, as a fan, because you care so much, you want your voice to be heard, and I understand we can't listen to everybody because you can't make everyone happy. That is definitely one big thing. But I think we keep saying this, like, fans keep saying what they're saying. Like, they're giving us their opinions and no one's addressing it. We're kind of just putting a blanket over the whole thing. And I think there's a way to be like, look, we've talked about this. We've heard what you're saying. We see your comments. No one on Instagram is missing what you're saying on every single post that Joey Logano's doing in New York City, okay? That poor man wants to celebrate. No one's leaving him alone.
That
But
poor man wants a nap.
that poor man wants to just enjoy Times Square. Um, but it's just like, hey, maybe they can also, I don't know what they do with the fan council surveys. Do people get emails like, "Thank you so much for your comment. We've read into this." Things like that. So I'm just hoping that it's, th that kind of communication opens up a bit more for fans. Even though they're not gonna change anything, I know both Steves have said that. They're like, "We're sticking with this playoff format," and I know, then Elton Sawyer on SiriusXM said they were gonna review some of the stuff. They're keeping the playoff format, but they're gonna review some of the stuff inside of it. Um, I would just hope they would be like, "Yeah, we read your comments. We know. We see them, but this is what we're doing and how we think that addresses some of your concerns." Like, something like that would help,
For
right?
sure.
Ultimately, they make the decision, but just hearing the fans and making sure fans understand that NASCAR is listening and hearing it and reading it, I think would go a long way.
I totally agree with that. I 100% agree with that. Um, and you're right. Like, it's all about wanting to feel like you're being heard. And I think that's where, like, I don't want to say, I think that's where I'm trying to come from, that in between perspective, right? Like, I 100% agree with you. Do I think that that this is like the end all be all best way we should be doing things? Not necessarily. But if everyone's yelling into the void, okay, well then, like, we've voiced our concerns. To your point, Ash, part two would be liking to hear and feel like we're being heard. But I'm kind of trying to sit at this middleman ground where I'm like, okay, so we voiced our concerns. Now let's roll with what we've got, right? Like, this is what we're working with right now. So we're gonna have to roll with what we've got. Now I think that begs an entire other argument right now of like, do we as fans then, and this is a whole side skirt over here, so I really don't even want to get into this. I want to get back to the point you were making, but this is where we start to maybe change our discussion, change the discourse, change the argument. Like, we've recognized that, like, we can voice our opinions, but then let's also maybe do what we can in the meantime. Like, does that mean we maybe as fans prioritize the regular season championship a little more than we have in the past, in a way? Which, as much as we do like the end of the season champion, because if we're sitting over here and saying it's a season long thing, it's wins, it's all that, then, like, okay, sure. So then, like, let's look at some other milestones or awards that we're giving out in the season as fans, and we start to try to, like, prioritize those in different ways too. That's all I'm trying to think about. But going back to the point with what you were saying, Ash, as a fan base, from your perspective, when would be a good time for you to want to hear these, like, we hear you responses? Like, is it
Mhm.
now? Like, right post championship? Is it close? Like, because
Yeah.
maybe they're coming. I don't know. And I don't know. Like, nobody tells me anything. I just sit over here with Travis and talk a little bit about racing. So, like, take it for what it's worth. But, like, when would you want to hear those kind of responses?
Yeah, I do appreciate the when like Elton comes out and talks about decisions they've made. I appreciate that transparency. If you want to talk about big things like that, I mean, beginning of the year is good. Be like, hey, we've read your post right for 2025, a great communication effort. And I know this takes time and staff, which race series and race teams are already, going by the not a lot of it's planning, but I know a lot of people are wearing multiple hats on these teams. So it'd be great in the beginning of the year. They're like, "Hey, we heard everything you talked about in 2024. This is what we're planning to do this season." And it could be, I mean, on media day, just could be a bunch of bullet points. If you want to release a document or an article that kind of states out, like, "Hey, in 2024, this is just an example. I'm not saying NASCAR is or isn't doing this, by the way. So, hey, we heard that you want more support local, including your local racetracks, like me and Jesse sign off. We've heard you guys say that. Therefore, we're adding 90% of our food trucks are all local food trucks from the area where the track is. Next question, like that is what we're doing. Like, oh, we heard you care about sustainability. All of our food trucks, not only are they local, they're all run on electricity. I like tangible things and I see that the series is doing or hearing about, there's so much that NASCAR is doing that I feel they haven't even advertised like the good stuff and like the communities they work in, the projects they worked on. There's a lot of NASCAR stuff. I mean, right, they came out with Forza. You can compete in the 2024 next gen car vehicles. In and the American Thunder Tour, I think it's called, in the NASCAR series, and featured multiplayer. Like that was updated. Like you hear that from us, and if you follow NASCAR, you know that. But it's like, oh, like we're connecting, like the Steve said, we're connecting with different audiences. And I was like, I'd love to hear what audiences. Like he's like, oh, we found that 1825 watch on Twitch. Therefore, we have so many Twitch shows for you guys to watch. And we're also on YouTube. We have an increase in 18 to 25 participation in that thing. I'm like, oh, cool. I can go there. So more detailed manners of things that they've heard in 2024, and then maybe an update mid race and then at the end of the year of how they've like what's been good. I just like tangible, I like numbers. I just want the percentage. 24.2% of people disliked Ashley's comment. I want to know that.
That's fair. That's fair, Ash. I do think there is a bit of a line, like not to be like the West of downers, because I do feel like there are a few that think I'm like
No,
an
you can bring it
industry.
back to
I'm an
reality. That's fine.
industry plant today, or whatever you want to call that. Like I'm a NASCAR plant or whatever. Which, like, sure, take it for or whatever.
It's true.
But like, but look, like, there's also got to be a line, right? Because if NASCAR addressed every single thing and every single concern that every single fan felt like they had,
Right,
but
correct.
to
You
your
would point
point, that's
everything at
not
a
what you're
fine.
asking about, right? You're asking just about kind of like the call and response. Here are the major echoes we've heard. Here are some of the responses that we are doing in things that we're doing in response, next season to, again, as I started this whole thing about, is bettering the sport, right? At the end of the day, it's all about trying to better the sport. Um, so I get it. I get what you're trying to say. And hey, not to like go skirt left field here,
Let's do
but
it.
speaking of
Skirt.
NASCAR, they did something really cool this weekend with Forza. I was able to see that at the track.
So they had two things. So one was the you'll tell us a little bit about the track in a second because you were actually there. But they also had Twitch streams. So they had a watch along stream here on the Twitch chat, and I think they had the gameplay stream the day before. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Um, yeah, and the Forza activation.
So tell us
Sorry, I'm
about that in
reading it.
Phoenix.
Yeah, they had a. Sorry, I'm reading the chat. Chat's feeling hostile today. I
That's
need
the
to tell
internet.
them. Um, the Forza activation was really cool, and I actually really didn't even know um that was going on. But then walking by at the track, it was hard to ignore because they had this what they call the gamer garage. It's like the very end of one of the garage stalls there, right before you get to the media center, and they have all these different uh Sims set up, and they rolled out. I gotta get the information in front of me, but Forza rolled out like a huge activation with all three OEMs. This is one of the biggest like in person on location activations that they've done, and it was crazy busy every time I walked by there. Um, and this is gonna sound really probably I don't naive's not the right word, maybe like uninformed, just because I don't come from like a super high like gamer space, but I do come from a chronically online space. But I feel like Forza is kind of one of those games that is gonna maybe really bridge the gap here between like NASCAR game, and just like car motorsports fan game. Does that make sense? Like that sounds, again, like that was a really dumb way to explain it, but my point in saying that is a lot of people that I think about that play Forza and really enjoy it have never seen a NASCAR race in their life. So it's cool to be able to think that the time and attention and even more focus that's been put there, um, to kind of, think about the future of how that might interest more new NASCAR fans, even
Yeah.
if it's just from a gaming space.
Yeah, and that's why I appreciate when we have drivers like Raja Karuth, Carson Hocevar, like they're streaming on Twitch and they're just having a good time in iRacing, doing their thing. Like NASCAR's pushing their Forza collaborations and so many collaborations with their eNASCAR iRacing Coca-Cola series, and all that is available to folks who are interested in that gaming space. And then we hear about like William Byron, and we heard about that on the Netflix show about his sim racing and moving on up and using it to practice and have fun and then socialize. And so there is I know motorsports is niche, and I think video gaming and motorsports is nicher, if that if that is a word.
Sure.
However, more but showing folks the tools that, drivers may use, like some not exactly the correct simulator, like the most one to one, but like, hey, like drivers do use this. I mean, I know plenty of crew members who do sim race as well on leagues, and you'll like see them on iRacing and you'll see them in Forza. And having a great time in the off season, during the season, just to blow off some steam. It's funny that motorsports people, to blow off steam, will continually sim race and play more motorsports. So there is definitely a cross there, and I think it's a healthy way. Also, oh, in the kids space in Homestead, they had like the kids could play Fortnite. And Minecraft and such, and all NASCAR branded, all NASCAR themed. So it's a way to like, yeah, we can be naturally integrated into your video games and get the interest garnered from there.
Indeed.
So I do like that emphasis. As someone who
Yeah.
does on Twitch too, I'm a little biased, so I feel bad kind of being like blowing smoke up the Twitch streaming and gaming. But I
Well,
I am a big fan. I think there's so much connection that happened there.
yeah. No, absolutely. I agree with you. I mean, I can't speak to it too much because like I said, I'm not super knowledgeable in the gaming space, but I'm learning. So,
For the quote unquote off season, we're gonna try to get Jessie to stream just on her own channel. Whether that could be gaming or it could be just her yapping, or I'm gonna
yeah,
work on it with Jessie and get her into
while
the Twitch
we're
space.
okay, so while we're on the topic, yeah, let me know. Just like let me know while you're here. While you're here, if you care, let me know what you want to see because I, I have some plans to get on there and yap, but like truly, how much do you just want to see me get on and talk to you guys in here for how much maybe you do want to see that. Do you want to see me try to game? If I do try to game, what game do you want to see me try to play? I'm learning here, so intro to Twitch life, Twitch world, Twitchery, throw it my way.
Should we talk about the Xfinity race?
Please. I would love to. Do you care if I cry again or
um, no, not at all. I think everyone, yeah, I like I said on the internet, if you didn't shed a tear when Justin Allgaier won, then you should go to the Wizard and ask for a heart.
and
Because
if
that
you only
was
shed one tear, then like I'm kudos to you because I had snot. I was like it was a lot.
yeah. So I thought the race was. I know people have comments about Homestead, and people are gonna be like, "Ah, you're just bootlicking," but I enjoyed the Xfinity race. I thought it was great. I really liked it. I had a great time. We had Zwalach on pole, but then probably Herps winning stage one. And I understand the way the format is that we really focused on Justin Allgaier. And when Allgaier was doing his donuts, like Herps was trying to get his donuts in. But Herps did an incredible job that race as well. I mean, did race for that win. I mean, wasn't backing down, wasn't letting the final four pass him and all that stuff. I think Herps did an incredible job. He won stage two. I mean, he won stage one, excuse me. He won stage two, and then ultimately winning the race. Oh my god, he did such a great job. And Allgaier did a last to first challenge twice.
Allgaier
Um,
did everything in his power to lose that championship race, and they still managed to win it. Like I can't tell you how many times sitting in the media center, you heard everybody go, "Ugh, there it is, there it goes." Just like the one-off comments of like, there something happens, and they're like, "Oh, there it is for Allgaier." And then how many times do you count him out? And then you're like, "Oh, what?" It just wild, just absolutely wild.
Yeah, he had that restart violation where he went to the left, like out of the lane that he was in, that he picked right before the line that he was allowed to do that. So he had a restart violation. So he had a drive through, and then he sped. serving the drive-through penalty, so he had to serve another drive-through, and I was like, "It's Jover. Like, there's nothing we can do here. There's
Mhm.
nothing we can do for Justin Allgaier." And, it incredibly he did Justin Allgaier things, and lo and behold, he wins the championship. So I was I think he would have raced Herbst for the win more aggressively. I do think he saved himself slash his car, because Herbst was aggressive, and I think, Allgaier saw that, and he was like, "You know what? It's okay if I don't get the race win. I wanna win the championship and have and just secure that because that's what I want right now. A win in a championship would be good, but, Riley Herbst is really going for it, and I think he really wants it, and there might be some wreck and yellow flags. He did a risk assessment calculation, and I think he went on the safe side of it, and I appreciate that. I know this past 4 weeks, all I've been saying is drivers should take more risk and do more Hail Marys, but I'm actually really glad Justin Allgaier saw what was happening there and was like, "You know what, Herbst? By all means, please. You can take this race win, and I'm gonna win the championship here."
There's a difference between pushing that line, like I've been saying it too. Like you got to kick it up, right? You got to find the time to push. There's a difference between doing that and being stupid, right? And Justin Allgaier is not stupid. Like it's we just talked about it. You got to know what you got to do to win the championship. The championship was, well, I just also want to win the championship and another win. Why would you do that to yourself? Like at that point, you know what you're getting. Play it safe, and that's exactly what he did. To your point, he played it safe. He ran well. He ran them. He didn't just back off, but he didn't cross that line because he knew what he wanted at that moment. Yes.
Yeah, there was no hook in, there was no argy-bargy, there was no door-to-door, there was no side-by-side. He's like, "You know what? Let's just make sure I secure this championship." It was the last lap, when Herbst passed him, so Allgaier was like, "You know what? We're just gonna let this happen."
Yeah. And Justin Allgaier has been a staple in the Xfinity series. He has been
Mhm.
full time in the Xfinity series since 2009. That's what, 14 years in Xfinity, 15 years? I don't, again, in Xfinity. He's been in the championship for 6 times. And this is his first title. And Justin is phenomenal, just as all around, as a person, as an advocate for the sport, as a dad, you see it. Like, I cannot think of a better person to represent the NASCAR Xfinity Series as a champion. And the fact that it took him this long to do it at this point, it's just like makes it, I don't even, it makes it that much sweeter, like really appreciating how long it has taken him and how close he's come so many times. He was second last season to getting that title. And you just you know how bad that hurts. Like you see the emotion. And in talking to Justin, it's funny, I remember talking to him, I believe it was 2 seasons ago. Maybe it was no, it was last year. I talked to him about it and just about like, when you're in the series for this long, at what point do you start to compartmentalize with yourself your idea of success? Like, at what point does getting that title still become how you measure your overall success in this career in this series? It's a little bit of the Denny Hamlin effect that we've been having, right? Like how much does that title still matter to you? And Justin talked a lot about how he had to kind of have a mentality shift. I believe it was like after that 2021 season where he had to kind of change that thought process where for so long it was like how can I be in this series and fight this hard and win this many races and be an advocate for this sport and blah 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 and not win a championship. And once you switch that mindset to not having a title doesn't discredit everything I've done to this point, it was like a total different approach to the game. And so all that to say, he's been in this series for so long that he's gone through every range of emotion, every thought process, every mentality that one can have growing up through the Xfinity series. And for him to finally reach the greatest accomplishment that you can have as a driver in that series, yeah, I was ugly crying big time. Could not be happier for him and for that team. And then you throw Dale Jr. in there celebrating with him. Goodness, it is just a storybook day for that team, truly.
Just wholesomeness all around. Yeah, you mentioned Dale watching as, Justin has the flag and he's doing his donuts, right? So that was a great picture, and camera shot that we got on television and post race, and then climbing out of the car, right? You see Justin crying as he's doing his victory lap, so like you can see him wiping the tears from his eyes from but I was like, you know what, Ashley, you're gonna hold it together. You're a sympathy crier, but you're gonna hold it together. He climbs out of his car, he hugs Dale, and I was like, okay, Ash, don't do it. And then he hugs his dad, and his dad's like, "I love you so much. I'm gonna cry right now. I'm so proud of you."
Oh,
And
oh,
I was like,
don't do it.
and then his mother, and then his kids come, and then I lost it. His kids were so happy for him, they were crying. I like, they understand the full scale of what their father has been working for and, like, why he's been missing certain events in their life, right? Because, right, like, if you're thinking about it, if you're on the road as often as these guys, they potentially are missing, maybe their kids' birthdays, their recitals, their choruses. I was in chorus, my recorder, ensemble, because I was played hot cross buns really well. Like, they're on the road so much, they might be missing these things out, and they're like, "My father has accomplished this." And what he sacrifices for our family, what he does on the road, and, like, how he provides for us, like, everyone, like, understood the scale of the situation at this point, and I was like, "Oh my gosh," tears everywhere. So it meant so much to see, like, his family, his wife, his kids, his parents, Junior, and then Junior were waving the flag around the media center. It was so fun and, like, it's such a great way to, like, kind of, like, end the Xfinity Series championship. So it just leaves me warm and fuzzy inside.
I really I love the way you laid that out because I think you're so right. The response that his family had, his wife Ashley has been his rock, and he's so vocal about that. And seeing the way that she's always there for him and comforting him and supporting him, and through, to be honest with you, some of those images that I even have mentally, and you can find them online and on Instagram of the previous years of Justin coming so close. I remember one from last year of her just hugging him, getting out of the car, and he's still got his helmet on and he's got his head down, and it's just like they have been with him through every step of that emotion. And to your point about his kids, it really just even puts on display how much of a family man he is and how great of a job he does, with as difficult as it is to balance those two things: being a dad, being there, being supportive, but also having this full-time career as a NASCAR Xfinity Series driver. So absolutely. To see the entire Allgaier family there celebrating with him. And then, of course, if you may not be familiar or, just reminding you, the helmet that he takes off, to put on the car to get that title is literally designed and decorated by his two daughters. And it has a message written to him on the back of it, in their handwriting, in Harper's handwriting. It's just, come on. I mean, I can't, like I said before, I can't imagine a better person, a better family to have this honor. And I want to say quickly too, I love the NASCAR Xfinity Series. I've said it before, I'll continue to say it. I mean, it's the slogan. Like, that is where names are made. There's so much on the line for these guys. Like, they are fighting for so much more than just wins on the weekend or top fives or top tens. Like, they are fighting for their futures, their careers in this racing world. And that is why there's so much emotion. There's so much, oftentimes, aggression. The decision making. It's a learning ground. It is truly a breeding ground and has so much potential for great racing every weekend. And I lay all of that out because I think with bringing in the CW, I think with a lot of the different, network, I you know, relationships changing next year, it provides an opportunity for the NASCAR Xfinity Series to kind of have this spotlight that they haven't had maybe in previous years, and for people to kind of look at that series as not just the series that runs on Saturday to the Cup Series on Sunday. Like, really give it the respect, the attention, the excitement, the understanding of the storylines that it deserves. And to have somebody like Justin Allgaier as the champion right now, helping to issue this series into this limelight that they have the potential to take advantage of, I think is could be a perfect storm for bringing new viewers in and reappreciating the grounds that that level of racing can provide for us as fans.
Yeah, it was a lot of tears. I do want the
A lot of
the
tears.
championship hat. It looks pretty cool. Yeah, I saw Dale
The
wearing it on his
championship
podcast.
what?
The championship hat?
Ah, yes. Yeah. The everything about it. I mean, was just yeah, I can't say enough about it. I mean, the thing is, it was like it gave me like y'all remember seeing Dale Jr. celebrate at Bristol and the excitement there. Like it was that on extreme. Like that it was just warm and fuzzies. Very happy for that team. Very happy to have them representing our sport for the next season as champions.
B says, I don't get the move to the CW. What platform is the race streamed on when the Xfinity race is live? So the CW has actually increased viewership for NASCAR. I'm just telling you the facts. I'm not telling you whether you think that's a good thing or a bad thing. So you can take that as you will. But there's been an increase in percentage of viewership since they moved from to the CW for the playoff format. And overall, I think average increase of like I don't know what the final numbers are. I didn't even check. Oops, I did not check for Phoenix. Overall, I think the average increase was like so I want to say 14%, but that sounds high. I think that was just one race. So it's like 10%. It's in the double digits, so that's great. CW is on cable, right? You get that if you have an antenna. I know a lot of people forgot what that was like when Bob had to when we had our Bob moment here on stream when Bob was telling everyone how to watch it. You can watch it on Hulu though. You can watch it on YouTube TV. So uh, the CW is just more readily available to a lot more people. Um, how heavy is the Bill France Cup? Jesse said it's about 70 pounds. So
Yeah, from what I remember, it's about so it's enough that you can tell it takes two people to comfortably, confidently lift it in the air in a way that they feel like it isn't going to fall on somebody. It's big too. I mean, the size of it all around. It really is cool to see these drivers. That championship celebration is really really neat.
I appreciated what Faith said. My dad became a fan after he saw me watching a race as he was getting ready for church on Sunday, asked me to DVR the race, and the rest is history, as did my sister and my aunt. My dad actually got into NASCAR a little bit more than usual. He watches the big crown jewels from time to time, and I'll tell him when to tune in for what race. But because Bubba Wallace had the Star Wars paint scheme, my dad's a huge Star Wars fan. And I was just like showing him the paint scheme that Bubba Wallace on the car, and he was like, "This is so cool." And then I told him about the Vader one again. He's like, "This is so great." I think I like might buy him a diecast because he's just so obsessed.
I love that. I mean, think about how many times you talk to people that grew up race fans that were like, "I don't know, I liked the rainbow car," or "I was a really big fan of I don't know Kellogg's." So like I just like like this. I
Right.
don't care what the reason is. Like whatever sucks you in. Funny story too about the Darth Vader. So I'm standing backstage at driver intros this past weekend for championship race, and the drivers all walk down the runway there, and then they walk the stage. So I'm I'm seeing the 2311 PR girl stand there, like timing it out, like she's watching Bubba and she's got the cape in hand. And it was just like funny watching the behind the scenes of him like getting to the point, like the meeting location, her running up there, putting the cape on him, and him like putting it on before he like goes across the stage. It was like I got to like be like backstage at like Quick Change for like a Broadway show. It was just really funny. I got to watch a superhero like get dressed before his big moment. But it was cute because then like she put it on and then she turned around. You could tell she was like, okay, like check, like got that sponsored post, like, check, and then ran off to her next duty. But it was just funny. I was like, I feel like I shouldn't be seeing this. This is like Mickey Mouse without his head on. Superhero getting his cape on. It just feels wrong, but really cool. I do love all that Star Wars activation, and that helmet was so sick. Bubba's helmet this weekend was really, really cool.
So, fun fact, in Magic Kingdom, they have tunnels underground. So if they need to like take off the costume or just like walk around without getting a bunch of like, kids on them or whatever, like the princesses will use the tunnels and like walk to where they need to go. Not that NASCAR needs that.
What do you mean
But
the
it was
costume?
oh yeah, sorry. The oh no. Children watching this are devastated.
What? Just kidding. No, that is really cool though. Although, so you say that about not that NASCAR needs that. However, there are some tracks that NASCAR drivers, I'm sure, would greatly appreciate having an underground tunnel to help them get maybe in and out after a race. Um, my dad's at work right now, or else that dang job gets in the way, or else I would shoot him a text and see, but he might not be able to get back to me. He used to tell me a story about Martinsville, because if you've been to Martinsville, there's one little entrance, stairs, tunnel in and out of the racetrack while the track is hot. And he used to tell me a story about a driver who would literally like practically go in disguise. He'd like bring a little briefcase, put a hat on, and he would basically try to like go in disguise to get in and out of the racetrack, and it worked for him. And I just think that's really funny that like he would practically
Just
have
so
to
funny.
like dress up to sneak in and out, and it worked for him. So to your point, underground tunnels, maybe NASCAR can let us know if they are hearing our cries.
That's the first thing they should address, actually, if both Steves are listening. They should that's what I wanna be addressed. I'm just thinking of, like, the Groucho Marx, glasses and really thick mustache and the fake nose and, like, the bushy eyebrows disguise that's just like, "No one knows who I am."
That's like how my dad like described it. Like maybe not, like the like literal thing, but it was like, yeah, he grabbed like a different hat, like an inconspicuous hat, grabbed like a briefcase, threw his suit in a briefcase. Like, why would you have that? It was just the most like like he went to the thrift store and like dressed up to get into the R-rated movie. Like that's kind of how it felt, like the kid dressing like his dad type deal. But yeah, pretty funny.
People will say that it's ridiculous when they watch Superman that no one recognizes Clark Kent just because he puts on the glasses, and I would like to say, when NASCAR drivers at racetracks, depending, like, if you're there a little bit earlier during the day or just during the week when they're wearing regular clothes, like, they're out of their fire suit and they're wearing regular clothes, people do not notice that, and I genuinely think the
For sure.
Superman writers were onto something because
No,
people
for sure.
like, drivers just walking by, and I was like, "Oh my god, that's so and so," and no one, 0 thoughts. They're like, "Oh,
So I
look
know
at that."
this may be, chat be nice because it's truck series. So I can see you being like, oh, that's niche. But Tricon actually they did a bit about this and they took it's on Instagram. This was a couple races ago now, but they took hang on, Tanner Gray. I always have to think through Taylor and Tanner.
Yeah.
Older Gray. They took Tanner around at the racetrack on like race day through the fans. And Cullen, who's their PR guy, went around and was like, hey, do you know who this is? This driver is? And they just had Tanner standing there and had people to his face be like, no, sorry, buddy. Like, I don't know who you are. Like, it was really funny. But to your point, yes, like once they said names and stuff, they were like, oh, yeah, okay, I know, and your brother and all that. Like, a lot of them, people knew him. I mean, but poor guy, they just threw him out there. Do you recognize this man? Never seen him in my life. They're like, all right,
If if Chris Bell were to walk by me at, like, Publix or wherever, Food Lion, Harris Teeter, do you think he's a Harris Teeter guy or a Publix guy? Um, I would
Publix.
probably be like, "That's another gentleman doing his grocery shopping." Like, I would have 0 thoughts if I saw Christopher Bell at, like, a Publix. I don't think I would realize it, and I feel like they should do that on track with our Cup drivers. Someone mentioned, Faith in the chat mentioned that wouldn't work on a certain driver, Ryan Blaney. He's got the stash and the beard, and he's just noticeable without being noticeable. I was like, "Yes, if he cut his hair, shaved, and just put him in regular clothes and walked him around the fan zone, I wonder how many people would be like, 'Oh, it's Ryan Blaney,' or like."
He was, here's the thing. If he just, uh, the mullet, if he just kind of like fluffed it up a little differently, and to your point, threw on some different sunglasses, like, he looks enough like a race fan that he could probably get by. But you know what? Okay, here we go. I'm coming in as a NASCAR industry plan once again. But
How
that is
dare you?
why it's on us, people like me, people like you guys, to consume the things that people like me are putting out to drive driver star power. Right? Like we talk about it all the time. You hear all the time from fans right now being like, oh, there just aren't any like big stars in NASCAR. Like you got Chase Elliott, you got Ryan Blaney. You don't have these like personalities like we used to have back in the day. They're there. They're in there. It's just on us to display them to you, and it's on y'all to consume that, and to make the effort to learn about these guys beyond what you see on a broadcast on Sunday or what their car looks like. It really like it's two-way street if you're willing to meet us in the middle. I promise you, there are some really, really cool personalities, whether it's in the Cup Series or coming up in the Xfinity Series or trucks or whatever it is. That could be your next favorite driver. It's just on us to help you find who that person is, right? So, okay, I'll step off my industry plant soapbox now.
Jesse's stepping down. I wish you had, like, an actual box so you could just be like, "Oop, pop
Every
off."
time I go to talk about something, I just like slightly am like out of frame because I'm standing on my box. Speaking of boxes that I stood on, I did do that this weekend during an interview. Quickly, not to go off on too much of a tangent, but in talking about, helping people find their next favorite driver, bringing new people into the sport. Um, Michael Phelps was there at the racetrack this weekend as the pace car driver. not the one that drove the pace car into the barrel. He's the one who drove it before the race.
Yeah,
Um,
we don't have celebrities driving the pace car during the race, guys. I don't know how many people on Twitter thought that. I thought that was wild.
I
That
don't
is
know. I
not
was kind of
happening.
starting that rumor at the track. Like I kind of thought it was funny. I thought it was a funny joke. I was like, they still got Phelps in that thing. Got a couple laughs.
Oh, no.
It did well. It hit. Anyways, but I got to interview Michael Phelps before the race. We did a NASCAR live stream, a pre-race live stream. That is a very large man. I mean, that not to like any surprise, like 28-time Olympian medalist, like hello. But I'm trying to find the picture now. I had to stand on a very large box.
Jessie, how tall are you?
I am 5'2". So I still didn't see eye to eye with him, but I did get to at least look
Michael Phelps is six
him in
four.
like the nose. Yes. No, it's super great
That's so
guy though,
funny.
honestly, like, really happy to be there. He was, like, so into it. He was already interested in NASCAR, but this was his first race, so, um, it was really cool, like, to have him as excited as he was about being at this event, and it was really an honor to interview him, so
Did you post it on social media? That would do numbers.
I will, I need to do that. I have not posted it. Also, there's, like, 0, cell service at the racetrack on championship
Right.
weekend, or it's
Yeah.
spotty, I should say. There's Wi-Fi for the fans, but I leave that to the fans. And so I just truly just like put my phone away and just enjoyed all of Sunday. And now it's like Wednesday, and I need to get around to posting my content from Sunday.
I did like the pre-race show that you and Alex Weaver did. I thought that was really cool. It was about, gosh, was it 30 an hour long? 30 minutes long? 45?
It was like
One day,
40,
actually, one
45
day.
minutes long. Yeah, but
Okay,
thank you.
45
I
minutes long.
appreciate that. It was fun.
So pre-race show, what essentially what they did is they had you guys streamed live through YouTube, and Alex Weaver introed, and they had you interviewing some of the drivers, which was really cool. The final, did you interview all of the final four? Because I know I saw the Tyler Reddick interview before I had to depart,
We did.
and then
I talked to Tyler and Willie B and Blaney, and Alex talked to uh Logano, and also did a championship 4 Q&A on the stage, so we kinda got to hear from him a couple
yes,
different times.
and you did Michael Phelps though at the end, correct? Right, that's when you were interviewing him as
Yes,
well for
got to
the
do him
live
at the
show.
end there. Yeah, and I talked to Briscoe as well, but that was obviously, more about the SHR of it all, so yeah, it was
How
really fun,
did
it was a good time.
what was the idea behind a live stream for a pre-race show?
Yeah, they have been doing those, a few of those. Towards the latter half of this season, Alex has been hosting, not every week, but they've been maybe a handful of them now. Um, just kind of like we've talked about, and like we were talking about earlier, with a lot of the different changes in regards to networks and just different platforms and things for content to come out of next year. I think there's a lot of trying different stuff this year, seeing what we like, seeing what's doable. So I can't say right now for sure what the solid plan is for having something like that next year. But I do know that the thought around Phoenix was bringing in another host. I was thankful that they brought me in and let me work alongside Alex, and kind of tag team that one, and did a little more of an involved stream, just to kind of, like I said, some proof of concepts for what could be coming next year. So that was the thought process, was why not? It's worked before. Let's do it again. Let's do
Yeah.
it a little bigger. And hopefully, because it worked, and because, thank you, people like you tuned in and watched it, maybe that'll mean we'll get some more of that next year.
Yeah, I did like that a lot. I really enjoyed it. I think the first of all, the camera quality very crispy, and I was like, I don't know how this happened. Knowing how like racetracks are, and it could be spotty, and just like getting it out there, it worked out really really well. And I like that it was available on YouTube. And then I gotta advocate for my Twitch homies in the chat. So I'll be like, don't forget, don't forget to the crossbar note. But yeah, hopefully we'll see more of that integration, especially I believe as Amazon gets involved. No promises, Chad. I'm just these are the things I wish for and like hope that someone with power hears me and I throw it into the wind. And that's how I that's how we develop this show and stuff like that. So I thought that was awesome. I thought that was great. And then we had
Thank
the
you.
Cup Series race. I think we gotta get on that.
Let's get on it.
Martin Truex Jr. on pole for his final race,
I loved
which I was like,
that.
oh, this is actually great. I'm
Yeah.
fine with this.
Yeah. It was really great. Like
If we should
it
just stop
was
the count right there, I think a lot of people would have been fine with that.
No, it was really nice for them to have that honor, and again, it's like you wanna go out with an honor, right? Like, everyone you don't wanna go out feeling like a loser, but in NASCAR, there's only one winner and there's a heck of a lot of losers every week, so for them to be able to walk away with an honor of the weekend and getting that pole, I think was really big, so happy for them.
I mean, in his whole just career, how many people have gotten into it because of him? How many people have supported him, been following him through his whole entire career since he's been in NASCAR and beyond? It's crazy because I think Jeff Gluck said something about it was funny saying goodbye to Martin, even though I'll see him at Daytona. So I don't know if he was saying that Martin is racing Daytona or like just Martin just coming back to watch the race. I'm not sure what was that wink wink nudge nudge tweet that he put out there, but I was like, oh, that's kind of
No,
funny.
Martin's made a lot of comments about wanting to come back and race the 500. Again,
Okay.
I've been on the internet enough to speak to anything that may have been announced, but that's been a conversation for a while now. And Denny's even said like I'm always going to help find a ride for like it's he's already
What?
said, and that's why I did mention that earlier. Yeah, MTJ is racing the 500. Yeah, so like
Huh.
he's already that's already been a conversation. So it is kind of one of those silly like bye. See you in February, but also like honoring what he has done.
Oh my gosh. For as often as I am online, I was like, how did I was like, oh. Almost oh, he did say Martin Truex says it's almost a guarantee he'll run the Daytona 500 2025 on the Dale Jr. download. Okay, I'm just saying, almost a guarantee doesn't mean he's going to. Okay? To my defense, chat,
Yeah,
I
that's
wasn't
why. Yeah,
both of us are right. Okay, everyone.
everyone's right. Everybody is right. Good job, everyone.
Almost
Way to go.
guarantee.
Stickers all around.
We had that incident. I remember lap 2. Ty Gibbs was in the wall, and out early, which is like sucks because you prep for this entire time for this entire end of the year, and then he goes, yeah,
Yeah.
and then he keeps going
Yeah,
all.
I guess what did he break a toe link or something? Because the way that car just went skirt, I mean, like it was clear, like
Sorry, what
clear
did the car
something.
do again, Jesse?
we got you got that. You figured out. But you know what
I,
I mean.
I
Like it
got
took a
it.
hard right. She took a hard right into the wall there. Yeah, clearly just a malfunction, and that's to your point, really frustrating and really unfortunate. Especially that early in the race to come, have all the events, all the excitement, finish the season strong, and then have a little broken piece end your day there on lap 3. So um that's tough. But to your point, yes, brought up the caution early.
Then we had Logano winning stage 1, and, the pace car then hit sand barrels coming too late into pit road, and immediately people thought I saw on Twitter and then in my chat during the watch along, people were like, "Oh, Chase Elliott hit him." And I was like, "I don't think Chase Elliott hit that pace car to make it do that. I don't think that wouldn't have done that if he did do a little bit of a bump draft in there." It was funny, and then Chase actually posted Chase posted a meme video about this from his in-car camera about when that incident happened, and he put, like, the cat driving meme. It's on his Instagram, like, Chase Elliott posted an Instagram reel that was a meme, and then I have the John Mulaney quote stuck in my head, "The horse used the elevator. I didn't know he could do that. I didn't know Chase Elliott had memes in him," that he posted on the internet. I was like, "Wait a second. This man is making a funny on social media? This is so surprising."
That's funny. That's funny. Yeah, good for him.
So
Love that. Love to see it.
I wonder
That
if
was his campaign for most popular driver. They said, "Chase, bro, put in like something, right?" He said, "Fine, I'll throw him a bone."
I'll throw I'll throw him an
And you know what?
Instagram
You know what? It's gonna work.
I'll throw them an Instagram reel meme, and that'll be my most popular driver win. Was it number 8, number 7? Right
Yeah.
there, because I
He said,
posted
"Look,
that.
can't
Oh,
say I
that's
didn't
so
try,
funny.
right? Can't say I didn't
He's like,
try."
"See? I'm funny," like Sheldon Creed said. So, I thought that was good. I guess from his perspective, it was kind of hilarious. I mean, he's definitely, a millennial at heart, so I did appreciate that he, posted that meme. He didn't hit the pace car, it got called in really late, so, like, the pace car driver, to the best of their ability, yeeted the car back into pit road, but apparently hit some sand barrels. We had to red flag it because those barrels are heavy, like, hundreds of pounds, that you just can't pick up or, like, move yourself, so they had to sweep it up, and move the barrels back. And then the Jackman on the 22, seemed, I believe, can I say allegedly sick? Just feeling unwell, had to be swapped out, with, a teammate's Jackman, so I hope he's doing okay. I actually don't remember the follow-up after that. I think he's doing well, but, yeah, you gotta racetracks, I mean, hot. You're in the fire suit, you gotta hydrate, you're running around,
Mhm.
heavy equipment, smell
It's
of
dry in
gasoline.
Phoenix. Everyone kept talking about it all weekend. Like it was really easy to be dehydrated because you get so dry, but and you're not really thinking about not replenishing those electrolytes in that water intake. So it's yeah, it happens. Sorry, quickly, I was just reading the comments on here on Twitch. What I thought was incredibly savage about the pace car as well was the fact that NBC just like really made a point on that overhead camera to be like, no, we're gonna show this man get out of the car. Like this man is gonna
Yes!
he's gonna do this wrong. We're gonna make sure that everybody watches him. Like talk about like a walk of shame. Like the way he had to get out and then he like went around and looked at the car like he was a driver, like assessing the damage. And NBC was like, this is good. Like, they didn't give him any leeway. Poor guy. They just put him right on display.
Yeah, they were following that car around after, like, peeled off the pit lane. I was like, "Alright, I'm not sure what we're doing. Leave that man alone." They do have multiple cars available, so they were able to get a nice clean one out, but they did replay the incident over and over and over again pretty frequently, in that overhead cam one I thought was, like, pretty
Well,
good.
and quickly, I will say, I don't wanna put anybody on display or whatever because this is just logistics of everything, but to your point, Ash, about they do have multiple cars. They do. They do have multiple cars. They're not, like, sitting over in the corner running ready to go because 'cause they're assuming the pace car is gonna wreck out. Like, there was a little bit of a, "Oh, sheesh" moment there, I think. Was like, we need to go get one of the backup cars. Like it was kind of funny. Like it was definitely they were able to overcome, but it was like that of course, like I wasn't part of this, but the way I envisioned it was like that scene in SpongeBob where everyone's running around and everything's on fire and they're like going through the files and stuff because they know like yeah, that's how I envisioned it. But they made it work. Never would have known watching on NBC.
And I think I'm allowed to mention this. Um, what people know, I was informed that this happened, in Talladega, 1986. Someone actually took the pace car for a joyride. Um, the gentleman hopped 2 fences, went to the pace car, had the keys inside, he took off in the car. He managed to do a complete lap, doing 100 miles per hour down the back stretch before officials were notified. But by the time he finished his lap, the police cars and everyone, like, they did a roadblock in turn 4 to put an end to his joyride. And I think it was televised as well. He was taken to Talladega County Jail and held, reading here, $10,000 bond for taking the pace car on a joyride. Sorry, I shouldn't be laughing. This is serious. Don't steal the pace car, everyone. Um, so
And
you
that
didn't know
was
that? I wasn't born in 1986. How would I have known that? I was
Yeah,
not
and that's
alive.
and that still wasn't, like, the worst thing to ever happen to Talladega. Like, you know what I mean? Talladega, like, as far as fans messing with stuff, like, they were like, "Ah, dang, here we go." Like, of all places, it's of course it's gonna be Talladega.
It's televised constantly in your nursing home? Like, what are you talking about, Kraz? You're just acting like you're 101. I am 32. What are televised constantly? Where? I have never seen this before in every NASCAR stream I have done. I'm gonna defend myself on the last show. Come in here. So that's fun. I guess we'll have that'll be like another fun thing in the history books that in 2024 Phoenix, the safety car yeeted itself into the pits. Um, and Ryan Blaney made it funny. For I heard the second time this year, so that's how he's going to win most popular driver. Blaney went in stage 2. We had a few spinouts from the 71, and there was a whole up battle. Byron was on a different strategy, and I thought, this might work out for him. This is a bold strategy, Con. Let's see how it works out for him. Unfortunately, there were just too many yellow flags back to back. Blaney just couldn't catch up to Logano with so many laps to go. I think it was 23 overall, but catching like so close, couldn't just secure that pass. Unfortunately,
Yeah, it really was watching that, it was one of those the what if, the if you had just a few more laps, like, how could things have been different? And they may not have been. But watching him chase Logano down in those final laps was exhilarating, and he gave Hit absolutely everything that he had. I was standing by his car when he got out, and he needed medical attention. Blaney talked about it in the media center, said he can give more information if you go watch his interview, but he was depleted, like truly. They didn't do media with him right away because he was just, you could see it, like pale in the face, just gave it everything he had. He had to sit down for a little bit. A lot of people were just kind of giving him some space to get his himself back together. But I think that's just like also a testament to a how hot it was that day, and like we talked about earlier, how much goes into just running that race there in the desert. But then b how much he gave in those final laps trying to chase down Logano, and I don't think he could have given it anymore. The only difference maker maybe would have been a couple more laps.
In our producer notes, our producer Rachel, who's incredible, and we will thank her 100% after the show. She wrote historical fun fact about the track. Was I supposed to Google a historical fun fact, Rachel, or did you have an historical fun fact for us that you wanted us to say?
Oh, you heard it here first, folks. No historical fun facts coming your way. Oh, here's a historical fun fact for you. Phoenix Raceway opened its doors in 1967, I believe. NASCAR's been racing there since 1988, and the first ever NASCAR Cup Series race raced at Phoenix was won by none other than Mr. Alan Kulwicki. It was his first race as well, and he then turned around and did the very first Polish victory lap. First time we got to see the Polish victory lap. So history was made at Phoenix when we raced there for the first time. And if you want to bring it back to now, Ty Majeski, the Truck Series champion
Ah,
from Friday night,
yes.
is a Wisconsinite, just like Mr. Kulwicki, and came up through the Alan Kulwicki driver development program. Also an engineering student as well, so he kind of grew up in the racing world, really looking up to Alan's career. Obviously, we lost Alan back in '94. So not necessarily looking up to him, but the influence that Kulwicki left on this, entire sport is still continuing to help us build champions today. And that is your Phoenix fun fact.
Talk about Polish victory lap. Polska górom. Sorry, that just means something in Polish, which is not bad, I promise. But that's something Polish people say to each other when they want to just acknowledge the superiority of being partially Polish. So
Look at that. Alan
look at
Kulwicki is
there.
my favorite NASCAR driver. People ask me like of all time, as far as historic drivers go, he's my fave.
Yeah, Polish. My father didn't know that Alan Kulwicki raced in NASCAR till he went to the NASCAR Hall of Fame here in Charlotte, and he was actually kind of mad at me. So for everyone else's context, my parents are from Poland, immigrated here in the '80s in the United States. So and it's kind of like the My Big Fat Greek Wedding movie. Like anyone who is partially Polish, half Polish, my dad knows all of them. He will tell me Pat Benatar was half Polish, Mel Brooks. So he was like, Alan Kawicki. And he's like, I didn't know this. And he was like personally offended at himself and also at me for not telling him. So um he
Polish
is
Prince, people's champ.
people's champ, now my father's champ. So my, my dad's
Love
getting
that.
more and more into NASCAR the more lore he learns, which we greatly appreciate it. So yeah, Joey
I also
Logano.
can I quickly give a very, very, very short story. I apologize. And only because it's also
Yeah.
Phoenix related. Um, and you maybe can appreciate this. So when I was in Phoenix in the spring, I'm walking through the fan zone and I see this group of like probably college age kids. They're all there for the race. And you can tell because they're in like their cutoffs and their boots and they're like, like they came like dressed for the race, like their throwback jackets, like all their stuff. Like you see any group of like kids, like fuck, I say kids, like you know what I mean. Young adults going to enjoy the race. And I'm walking by and out of the corner of my eye, I see a girl wearing a Hooters racing jacket. And I am like, okay, I mean, chase jacket, whatever, keep walking. And I see like the Mighty Mouse patch on the jacket. And I'm like, okay, hold on. Because I love NASCAR vintage, and I get just told you
Mhm.
Kulwicki's my favorite. So finding Alan Kulwicki legitimate, vintage clothing or anything like that, jackets, whatever, true is very difficult. So I see that and I'm like, I gotta go. So I like walk over to her in the middle of her whole group of friends. They're all like drinking beer. I'm like, hi, sorry, excuse me. I was like, I just want to tell you, like, I really love your jacket. Like, where'd you get it? And as I get closer to actually like look at the jacket, it's like screen printed. and it's still a cool
Uh,
wiki jacket, but I'm like, "What?" And she goes, "Oh my god, thanks, girl, Shein." Ash, you talk about wanting to cry at the racetrack. I think I just, like, "Thanks, girl." Like, she was so sweet, like, it had nothing to do with her, but she was just like, "Yeah, I just, like, went on and searched, like, NASCAR jacket and, like, get one, like, Shein, like, so perfect." Because she didn't even know, and I was like, "Awesome, thanks," and I walked away and was just like,
womp womp womp.
"People are buying Alan Kulwicki jackets on Shein." I just felt like I needed to go back, and then, of course, being me, I was like, "Should I go back and educate her?" And then I was like, No, don't do that. Don't do that to
No,
yourself.
no, 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 don't do that.
Don't do that to yourself." Or her.
Uh,
Don't do that to her either, please, like
yeah, so, I mean,
sorry.
Shein, just be careful because now that NASCAR knows, because Jesse said it out loud, they will be looking into your merchandise, but also whoever was
Good.
the marketing person at Shein to find Alan Kawicki, I respect that's a great driver to pick, thank you so much. S You might get a cease and desist now because you shouldn't be taking copyrighted stuff that isn't yours, but also, like, Alan Kawicki's a great choice.
Yeah. I was very upset. I was very sad about that. But anyways, that's enough of my Phoenix letdown. Back to your point, Ash, about Joey Logano winning the championship. Can we dive into that? Are you ready to dive into that? Or is the
Yeah,
chat ready
Joe
to dive
Logano
into
wins the
that?
race, and, I mean, we talked about it a little bit earlier, right? Like, he wins the championship. I mean, they have those questions immediately in the media center. How does he feel about that? People talking about his finish this year, even though he's won races and this is his 3rd championship. I mean, yeah, I did again, I we just discussed this. I don't know if we have to go over it because maybe we have new people in chat, but to your point, right? He played the I mean, he raced the system that he has, and he won the championship. So I don't think fans are particularly mad at specifically Joey Logano. I think it's more so that they've talked about the system before, the playoffs, the chase, blah blah blah. And I know we can't give everyone what they want, but and I know NASCAR is looking into potentially doing a little bit different into the playoff format. But
Look, yes, yes. But if you want to look back and you want to just look at Phoenix, right? Like, because at the end of the day, it comes down to who is the best of the top four, who is the best finisher of the championship four at Phoenix. Starting with the fact that, I mean, Joey Logano failed pre-race inspection twice. Twice. The 22, I said Joey Logano, the 22 team, I should say,
yeah, he
failed
did it
pre-race
himself. He was
inspection. Yeah,
inspecting.
Joey himself was like, push the car through. They were like, nope, try again. But no, the 22 team failed pre-race inspection twice. Elton Sawyer did give an interview talking about what it was. It had to do with the underskirt car. I don't want to get into logistics. All I know is, and he didn't get into logistics. He just said, look, they were able to fix it and clearly overcome it. What is so important about that is that they didn't get to select their pit stall. And pit stall selection really can make or break it any week, especially at Phoenix. So that was big for them. And so to be able to overcome that, right? You can't discredit that they overcame adversity from the very very beginning. Um and they ran the race they needed to run. Like they ran a good race. They had a good restart there at the end with what was that, like 50 something laps to go, just over 50 laps to go. Um, he did what he needed to do in holding Byron back. Now, excuse me, Blaney back. Now, like we said, Blaney, was he going to catch him in those few laps? Probably not. He probably needed more. But at the end of the day, Joey still has to run a clean line, knowing that he's got a guy on his tail, whether he feels like he can catch him or not. He still has to not make any mistakes. That team did what they needed to do with what they had. They fought adversity and they won the race and they won the championship. You can't deny that's what they did on Sunday. He's a three-time champion. He's only the sixth person in NASCAR to become a three-time champion. Um, that's huge. That's big for him.
Slide Job says, "I'm surprised how little of a spark Willie B made. He ran really well the whole race and only got mentioned a few times. I mean, they definitely mentioned his strategy. I mean, how he had decided when to pit, opposite or just a little bit after the. I mean, Blaney and Logano, I believe. So, I think there was going to be a story there, but I think as soon as they saw that it didn't work out for him after the cautions came out one right after the other, and it didn't work in his favor in the restarts either, and kind of got swallowed up. I
He
think the
had a
story
fast
turned
car.
to
To your
I think it
point,
just
he had
turned
a fast
to
long run
Blaney
car. Just
versus Logano.
yeah, agreed.
It just
Agreed.
turned
He
into
had the
Penske versus
potential to do
Penske every day.
something, but with the way the cautions fell, and once it was evident that they weren't going to do anything with that, it became, to your point, the Logano Blaney show.
Yeah. You have a quick call to make as producer in your championship race about what stories you're gonna follow, and I think they took the race there between Blaney and Logano, really focusing on that. So, Jordan says we need Homestead as a finale and leave Phoenix in the spring race slot. Yeah, I understand they invested a lot of money, and I believe Phoenix has been working really hard. The Phoenix track president has been doing an incredible job and stuff. To me as a fan, I mean, I say that about Formula One too. It'd be great if they rotated tracks a little bit. I understand logistically that's not difficult, and everyone can yell at me in the comment section. But in a perfect world, if it was easy to do so, just be like, "Hey, maybe we can rotate finales if we can," and so on and so forth. Because I think it'd be good to do like West Coast, East Coast, West Coast, East Coast. I think that'd be interesting, just to give each track their moment for a finale like that. And I mean, we love
Each
what we saw at Homestead.
each track and each fan market, right? I mean, that's the other thing is it's to the way you're laying it out is a little bit of like the football, the college football, or even the professional football method of how you've got a couple, mainstay, big couple of landmark tracks or whatever, and it rotates between those places, and it gives the different markets an opportunity to get excited for the championship to come back, and then of course it keeps the schedule fresh. It's an interesting thought. I think there's a lot of people that think that way, and it begs then the question of, in addition to Homestead, what would those other tracks be that people would want to see that kind of jump around to different markets? I think there's an interesting question here quickly that somebody said, what if Joey beats Jimmy's championship record? And I don't really want to dive too much into the what if because let's be real, he's a number of titles away, right? What did I say? Math. 4 titles away before he even
Yeah.
ties him. So let's that's pump the brakes a little bit. I do love the like what ifs, the sentiment, the larger conversation. But I think the conversation here is I just said that Joey is now the 6th driver to win 3 titles. And I'm going to tell you the other drivers that have won 3 titles are Lee Petty, David Pearson, Cale Yarborough, Darrell Waltrip, and Tony Stewart. Tell me how different NASCAR was at all of those stages that these guys were winning titles, right? It goes back to the would Michael Jordan be the Michael Jordan if he played in? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, would he hold up
Oh
in this
gosh,
era?
yeah.
Like that conversation. The point is
Mhm.
it's like we're getting to a point where in our sport, especially in motorsports, in the way that things evolve and develop and change, and even the formats of things in the season, it becomes really tough to compare titles to titles. Um, so yes, all of those guys have 3 championships. All of those championships look incredibly different. So when you're looking at the overall conversation of some of these drivers that you are thinking could potentially give some of our maybe 7 times or best of the best or all-time greatest a run for their money, it's a valid conversation, but it needs to be had with the viewpoint of how different our sport has changed through so many different eras of racing.
Yeah, Joey, how do I say this? Okay, so I say this because they made a point to mention this in the Xfinity broadcast. This is the oldest Final Four we've ever had for Xfinity, and I was like, man, that reminds me when they in baseball where they're like, oh, the oldest in the league, 28. I'm like, oh, come on.
Yep. It's a
So
medical miracle. Joey Logano at 34 years old
4.
is still racing for championships. How does he get out of bed in the morning? I don't know how he does it. Don't know
He's
how he does
creaking
it.
when he hits that accelerator, I'm sure.
Seriously. No joke.
Oh,
They actually had to they're going to have to start putting in one of those lifts, those chair lifts to get the drivers up the championship stairs so that they can stand next to the trophy because we're just
he
getting to
actually has
the
a
age
heated
of
seat for his back, fun fact. When he's racing all them ovals on the left-hand turns, he's got a heated seat at 34 years old. So will he win 4 more? I mean, Ryan Blaney's gonna come back with a vengeance. I mean, think about all the folks that we all thought in our Final Four list that we had that were going to win, once we narrowed it down. I mean, we have so many good spots in Christopher Bell, again, Ryan Blaney, hoping for that Danny Hamlin one day, and I know a lot of fans are. So, it's gonna be tough to get 4 more, especially if they again try to maybe reframe or change up the championship in some way format, as they've been talking about little by little. So it'll be very interesting to see what happens after.
Yeah, and I think you gotta look at the last 4 years, the last 3 titles that he's won, and again, not just talking about the difference in the sport necessarily, but look at the difference in the competition. Look at the teams that are now in NASCAR and consistently successful that weren't even in NASCAR when Joey won his first title. Like, how much is going to change in the next couple of years is gonna be tremendous, and I love it. It's exciting to think about, like, new competition coming in, new teams, like, everything is evolving quickly right now, within the sport, and I think that it yes, it's gonna add a lot more to the question of will Joey Logano win 4 more titles? There's a lot to take into account there.
Well, Jess, we only have a few more minutes left. Do you have a favorite memory, or I guess it's hard to just pick one out of this whole season. It's been months and days and hours and a lot of sweating around racetracks, a lot of pairs of sneakers, to make it through walking around. Have you had a
Ooh.
favorite moment, or, anything that sticks out to you from, um, your time? I mean, the big one for
Mm.
me is the, Larson attempting the double, right? That was really cool. And,
That's a big one. Yeah, okay, that's fair. I think for me, personally, it's funny actually, and you guys can join me in this. Before we got on the stream, I was watching this video that was so well done. It's on NASCAR's YouTube. And it's basically like the biggest moments of the 2024 season in 3 minutes. And it's so well edited that like I think I'm just maybe just emotional at this point in the year, but I truly was getting emotional watching it. Like it was all hitting me that you gotta take some time off. You're not gonna turn around and like this entire season has just come to a close, you know? Like it was just the emotions of the year as a whole. But it's really hard to pick one. I will say I was fortunate enough to work the Kansas race this year for the closest finish in Cup Series history. So I was working for .com for that one. I got to do all of the immediate post race interviews. I talked to Larson in Victory Lane. So I think just kind of the whole energy of that from talking to Busher and the disappointment and the heartbreak to then the excitement of Larson and just the history of it all. That's probably one of my favorite moments, but if you gave me a few more minutes to think about it, I'd probably have a lot of favorite moments. But off the top of my head, that's got to be a big standout one for me.
Yeah, Jordan says, "My favorite moment was the photo finishes this year." Marcus, "My favorite moment was the spring Kansas finish." That Raja Caruth win for me was huge. Living
What
in
about Harrison
DC,
Burton?
oh my
Talking about
gosh.
tears. Harrison
Can we
Burton,
talk about
Jeff
Lee
Burton.
Diffie? Can he be
Oh,
an MVP of the season? Lee Diffie, when he came on, did an incredible job on his calls. Really, the emotion he puts into his voice and how he just comes up with the ending as they're doing their final laps and just like times it perfect. Like, what a professional! I know he's done this for years, but he's been such an amazing addition to the booth, and his calls are perfect.
yeah. No doubt about that. This season really was filled with to the point about even just the photo finishes. Like a lot of big moments. It's a good time. I know everyone's sad about the year coming to an end, but this is where it is such a good time to go back and reminisce, reflect, take it all in. That's what I'm going to try to do here over the next couple days and just like really absorb what I learned from this 2024 year.
Yeah, excited for hopefully Sheldon Creed to stop being the unluckiest driver in his P2 finishes of 2024 as well. I mean, I know Haas factory team has signed Sheldon Creed and Sam Mayer to pilot their two Xfinity Series entries in 2025. So fingers crossed for Sheldon in doing so. We've seen some incredible drives from Connor Zilich and, of course, SVG. All the folks who get started on road course races from Chicago to the Daytona 500, etc. It's kind of sorry. I'm pausing because I'm like, oh my gosh, there's so much stuff that's happened that we have to quickly say before you wrap up for a 3 p.m. finish here. And I was like, we can't fit a
It's
whole season
impossible.
of stuff and shenanigans in 8 minutes or so, or 10 minutes in the broadcast. But chat, let us know what your favorite moments were. Baritone saying, "My favorite moment was Brad Keselowski winning in that Castrol Supra throwback, snapping a winless streak in a great scheme. What else could
Mm,
you ask for?"
that was awesome too at Darlington. Oh, I literally just got chills thinking about it. Like watching that six roll to victory lane was like so wonderful. Ah, see, there's so many big moments. Like It is tough. That's why I said go watch that video, that 2024 season in 3 minutes. It gave me all the feels, all of them, every single one of them.
Nano says, I have faith that 2025 will be the year Sheldon Creed will no longer be Valtteri Bottas. No longer second fiddle. No more Robin to the Batman. It's just none of that. Honestly, though, when I saw Sheldon and Austin Hill racing for each other at the end, I was like, oh no. Well, one, Austin Hill has, Sheldon Creed has the ability to do the funniest thing ever, but knowing him, he also won't do it because he's a good dude and trying to race clean. But I was like, oh, he has a moment to get revenge, but I know he's not going to do that. I thought that was funny. So, Xfinity, we got a lot of rookies coming in. A lot of people look forward to Cup. We have some shifts, unfortunately, some closing. Some of the legacies, might no longer be with us full time, but to be back for Daytona. And chat, that concludes our Jessie and Ash show essentially for 2024.
Mm-hmm. Ash, can I ask you a non-NASCAR related question since we do have 5 minutes left? Or we'll get off before then, but since we do have like a little bit of time.
Sure.
Are you familiar with the Costco guys?
No.
Okay. That's the end of that conversation.
I'm sorry. What should I know about the Costco guys?
The Costco double chunk chocolate cookie. The Rizzler. It's a chicken bake.
What are you talking about?
Okay, never mind. Chat, someone, anybody, throw me a bone. We'll talk off. Apparently it's a niche part of the internet. Apparently it's niche. So that concludes the 2024
now we know what part of side TikTok Jessie is on.
Thank you, Slide Job. They were on Jimmy Kimmel last week. Okay, look, that argument didn't hold up at work either. I did something really embarrassing in the garage this week. I assumed everybody would know who the Costco guys were. I gave a full-blown, like, boom in the garage. Nobody knew what I was talking about. And I've been waiting to find my people that would know who I'm talking about, and I have not clearly found that yet. So still working on it. I thought that you guys might be my audience, but guess not.
It's only you just got Slide Job 09 in the Twitch chat.
Me and Slide Job, baby. You and me.
You forever.
I knew I liked you.
And of course, as we close out today's shows, you have a lot of thank yous to give. I mean, one of my biggest ones is obviously to Rachel, our producer, who deals with our shenanigans, camera breaking, writing recaps for us, texting us things, making sure we're on top of it. So Rachel, thank you so much for dealing with not only being a NASCAR producer, but dealing with the talent that is yet crazy and such. Of course, Q, Golden, Kristen, we have a lot of people backing us, making sure this Twitch show happens, and it's something for the fans. Thank you guys from the bottom of our hearts that join us week after week, giving us your opinions, respectfully or not, that we deal with in time as we get it. Thank you so much to kind of build a little bit of a community here on the Twitch, on the YouTube channel, where we can talk and hang out. Your energy, your passion, your love for the drivers and teams kind of inspire me to watch the races in a different way, so I can come here and chat with you and just show how much we care about this and how much we care about you guys. So remember, support local, and that includes your local racetracks. Stay safe, stay passionate. Thank you for being a part of this in 2024, and we hope to come back in 2025 myself, and I will rope Jessie into it as well as I can.
Well, thank you for having me, Ash. Over these last couple weeks of the stream, I've enjoyed being able to jump in and join the party. So thank you for the warm welcome, chat. I do really appreciate it.
Have a great holiday season. Happy Thanksgiving. Happy holidays. Remember, the NASCAR Clash at Bowman Gray is Sunday, February 2nd. You can buy tickets now, and we will hopefully see you in February, everyone.
Hey, I'm Parker Kligerman, and you're watching the NASCAR Twitch channel. For more content like this, be sure to subscribe to NASCAR on Twitch.
I'm Ryan Flores. Join Kim Kuhn and myself each and every week at Around the Track. We'll get you ready for the upcoming race weekends, from short tracks to the Cup Series, whether you'll be attending in person or watching from home.
Coming your way each week is the best bets to win some easy money and driver suggestions to help pump up your fantasy lineups. Around the Track also tells you what to watch for in the NASCAR Regional Series and which young phenom drivers to keep your eye on.
Plus, our At Traction segment gives you all of the fan activities, concerts, and tailgating fun at the track. Be sure to check out Around the Track each and every Wednesday on NASCAR's YouTube channel.
Join Todd Gordon and myself each week for NASCAR Inside the Race. We'll break down exactly how the race was won.
Plus, we'll dive into the data and go in depth on race strategies, penalties, and rule changes.
Catch NASCAR Inside the Race presented by Consumer Cellular each Tuesday on NASCAR's YouTube channel.
Hey guys, I'm Corey LaJoy, driver of the number 7 car, joined my buddy Ryan Flores. Every week we stack some pennies. Talk about NASCAR Cup Series right out of my windshield.
Plus, we'll give out the dogs of the week for the best pit crews and pit crew guys from the weekend. We'll break down all the money stops, all the woes, get into some technical issues, and we'll also answer all of your hashtag Penny for Your Thoughts questions.
And we have a ton of guests. Sometimes SVG pops by, we got Raja, we have all sorts of guys. You never know who's going to pop in the Nonsense Garage, but make sure you tune in SiriusXM on Tuesdays, YouTube on Wednesdays,